one of the things that somebody once did to my child, and it takes God to forgive such a person, is, a person calling themselves a pastor, and they come and they want to pray for the child, and you allow them to pray, and you're thinking they're just praying. And before I realized, they begin hitting my child with a Bible on the head. And like really hitting, because they are casting out demons that I don't understand what kind of demons. If this guy was walking, he would simply have come and began slapping my child. And his whole idea, come down and walk. Why are you making your mother carry you, such a big girl? Come down and walk.
How are you? And welcome to Real Life Conversations. Thank you for joining us. This is part 2. Let me mention that this is part 2 of a session with me and Dr. Reverend Fidel Barraza. In the first session, she shared with us her journey in raising a child who has special needs. And in this segment, we just want to talk about generally what maybe the do's and the don'ts and some things you should take into consideration when dealing with people who are raising or caring for people with special needs. But first, I want Dr. Fidel, even as she says hi, to tell us about her doctorate, because it's in line with this. And actually, it's her journey in bringing up her daughter, Miracle Raziela, that led her to go to do a doctorate in this area. So please say hi and then tell us about your study, your area very briefly, so that we don't. Some of us are not very academic. That's the part of it, yes.
Amen. Hello, my name is Fidel Barraza. Once again, Reverend Dr. Fidel Ada Barraza, working with Christ is the Answer Ministries. My area of studies is Doctor of Philosophy in Education with emphasis in child development and family studies, but I veered off into neurodevelopmental disorders. Now, neurodevelopmental disorders are disorders that emanate from injury on the developing brain, or the central nervous system, or both the developing brain and the central nervous system. And examples of neurodevelopmental disorders will then include things like cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder. That is what my daughter has, both cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder. But we also have things like ADD, ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and things like intellectual disability, dyslexia, among others. Yeah, there are many. It's wide.
Okay.
Yes, so that's my area of study.
And I know you mentioned that especially you took to study that because you wanted children with such conditions to be able to hear the gospel to be communicated to that. And we will get to that at the end, towards the end. But right now, I'd like to ask, you have raised a child with special need. You know, how has it been? I know we talked about that in more details, but some of the things that maybe you encountered that society should watch out for, they shouldn't do not help, or some of the things that help when you're bringing up a child with special needs. Let's start with the things that didn't help in your journey, that were just totally out, that were totally wrong, that people did, that you do not appreciate, and other families will not appreciate.
Let me just begin by letting people know that having a disability or a disorder doesn't mean that this person is a lesser human being. Now, a person with disability is first and foremost a person, and they're persons. And so when you are talking about somebody with disability, a child with disability, we have to keep it in mind that we are talking about persons. They are first and foremost persons. Persons who happen to have a disability. So they are persons who happen to have because disability can catch up with anyone at any given point in time. And so today I may be whole, but I can be a candidate at any given point. And so these are persons who happen to have a disability, and therefore it means that they are persons who have support needs because of a disability. Now, support needs, because any person has a support need in our communities. Like a pregnant woman, when you are expectant, at that particular time when you are expectant, you have a need. And so you have your support needs to be pregnancy related. The support you need is pregnancy related. If you are an elderly person over 60, 70, you have particular needs. And the support you need are age-related support. Now, these particular individuals, whether a child, a youth, an adult, they have support needs. The support is according to the disability they have. If it's a mobility issue, they need mobility-related support. If it's cognitively related support. And so I actually usually refer to them persons with support needs. And yes.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yes.
So that you don't make them less human, you just
Yes.
make them humans with support needs.
Yeah, support needs, and you just need to understand their support. And so what it is that you need to understand their world. Understand the world of the person you are dealing with, and then be able to understand how they view the world, their lenses, and so to speak, how they view the world around them and how they operate in the world around them. And once you understand that world, you are able to go into the world and fit in, and then be able to know the do's and the don'ts that work. Now, where we go wrong most of the time is that we have this particular misperception that our world is the perfect world and their world is the disordered world. Their world is the world of disability. Their world is the warped up world. And so we are trying as hard as possible to push them into our perfect world. But in their world, they are looking at our world and they are wondering what is wrong with us because our world doesn't make sense to them. So as much as we are trying to get them into our world also doesn't make much sense to them. And so we need to understand. So they some of those things that maybe people have done and maybe I didn't appreciate is you asked me to begin there, things that people have done and you wouldn't appreciate that these things should be happening. People to look at you and look at your child, and they look at you and they're thinking, your child is the most, it happens up to today. They're like, how come she's not able to do 1, 2, 3? How come, and at times just long stares. And at times it's adults. You are walking with a child and people give you long stares. Even for me or even for you, if somebody's just staring at you and saying, it is uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
And it's just out of the norm for you to do that. And therefore, just don't give long stares that are, don't. It's not right.
Not kind.
And at times, drawing conclusions. Disability in this part of the world is still seen through the lenses of misperceptions, and people look at disability as through the lenses of it is as a result of it's a bad omen. Or we still go into the book of John and say, who sinned? Is it this child, or is it the mother that the child the parents that the child ended up being with a disability, and therefore it's a punishment, from God for some kind of sin? We still look at it, is it as a result of witchcraft and all that? And there begins to be so much and all that. But maybe also to just say disability can be defined in various ways. You can decide to define disability medically. And medically is where we look at a person and we say that the person has a condition, the person is the one with the problem, they have a disability, and therefore the person needs a solution. And people look at it that way. Some people look at it that way. And so that is then they begin to look at all manner of solutions. And so people would come to you, have you done this? Have you done that? Maybe you incorrectly gave this child this medication. Maybe you have, I've had many things about it. She's not talking. Are you giving her and feeding her so much, eggs and all that? Are you, and a lot of meats and all that? And why? Because she has a disability. She's the one with a problem. She needs some medical intervention. And so, they will come like, okay, have you tried to give the herbs? If the medical, medicines are not working, can you give these concoctions, these herbs, these roots, and all that? Now, that is one way. Disability can also be defined spiritually, theologically, so to speak. Now, theologically is where we go back to the book of John. Who sinned? Is it the child, or is it the mother? So that then the child is suffering. And therefore we need to be able to find a spiritual solution. And we begin to cast out demons. One of the things that somebody once did to my child, and it takes God to forgive such a person, is, a person calling themselves a pastor, and they come and they want to pray for the child, and you allow them to pray, and you're thinking they're just praying. And before I realized, they begin hitting my child with a Bible on the head. And like really hitting, because they are casting out demons that I don't understand what kind of demons. And really, the child is scared, because from now you're hitting them, the baby, and you're hitting them, and you want them to. And of course, when you're hitting them, the child will scream because they are scared, and they go hysterical. And the more the child is scared, the more he wants to continue hitting, because the demon is now screaming and getting out. I was so
even
upset.
the hitting. How do you hit with the Bible?
I was so upset. I was like, what is this? The child falls on the floor to roll, and you continue to hit, and this is a man of the robe. I was like, goodness. And for a very long time, I told myself, I never want to see anyone near my child praying for my child. I'll pray for my daughter. Now, that is theologically defining, and because a child is not, operating in your world, quote unquote, where you think your world is perfect, you think they are demon possessed. And that is how we have at times defined, disability, thinking it is spiritually related. And so therefore we cast out demons, and God, and force God by force to heal according to our prescription on how God should heal the person. Disability can also be socially defined. Now, socially defined is where we actually say it is not the child that has a problem. It is the social environment that is disabling. When it has some things or lack of things that actually end up disabling a person. Presence of some items or some things in the environment, presence or absence of some things in the environment that end up disabling the person because of either the presence or the absence. And however someone chooses to define disability, that is up to them. But I'm an ardent believer of the fact that yes, the environment is what is disabling to the person, because you just need to understand the person's world and know what works and what does not work. If a person is on a wheelchair, you simply ensure that there are ramps for them to be able to access the buildings, and there are lifts to access the building. If a person is in a wheelchair and you decide to gift them with a housing, and you give them a housing that is, some flights, above the stairs, how will they be able to get there? And there are no lifts, and there are no there are no ramps. You will have given the person the house, it is, on a flight of stairs, and the person is down there, and so though they have the house, it's like denying them what is provided, so they cannot have access. So it's the environment that has disabled them. If they had the ramps, they will just go to the house and be safe. And that is what happens. Disability is, the environment. Come to the church. For example, somebody who has sensory, disorder, sensory issues, they come in, and we are playing very loud drums, and we are having, electric guitars and all that and everything. And so they come in and we want to, contemporary music and do the loudest we can for the entire community, the environment to. What are we doing to this person? This person begins screaming and shouting because their ears are hurting, the sensory issues, they cannot deal with that. What about if you just understood their world and unplug all the guitars and do soft music and just decide to be calm and just allow, again, some of them that like autism, they cannot just maybe stand at one place. Allow movement as they are singing and going in. And at the end of it all, you are all worshiping God. But because of the fact that you didn't become sensitive to their world, you wanted them and to force them into your environment, you have disabled them not to come to church because they are not able to worship with you. So the environment is disabling. So in one way or another, those are some of the things that you do. Some of the don'ts, you looking at the child and you're judging them. They are mannerless. There are times I've heard people, saying, oh, that child is so mannerless and all that. But you have not taken time to understand that child has ADHD. Their concentration span is very little. Or at times you judge the parent and like, why can't you teach your children manners? And you're like, I think when at some point my child used to love cars, and we didn't have a car for the longest, as I said. When you are trying all your means, all you're doing, you're single parenting and all that, a car is do you even have money for it? Where do you get money for a car? So I'll carry my child around. I remember one day carrying my child to hospital. We are going for hospital visits, the therapies and all that. That particular time, I couldn't even afford money for a cab. So I carry the child, and because of the fact that her neck had not even held, I have to carry this child on my chest. I can't carry her behind because I have to support the head. So I carry her on my chest and then walk supporting the head. And the child had grown. I think this child was almost, going to 4 years or so. And you know how these matatu touts are very loud and all that. So this matatu guy, as the big minibuses, as they are going by the bus, and we are walking. I think I couldn't even afford, leave alone the cab, I couldn't afford money for a matatu. So we were walking, and we were walking a long stretch. So we were just walking, and I'm carrying my child. And they get where we are at, and I think probably they had spoken in the vehicle, so they slowed down, and he begins hurling insults at me. Like, no, not at me, at the child, actually at the child. Like, in Swahili, like, shuka chini utembee, mtu mkubwa kama wewe, like, come down and walk. It's such a big girl being carried. Look at you, come down and walk. And that time, the child cannot even sit. And of course, it's me who is hearing the things and all that.
So
and it pierced my heart. I was like, I wish, I was like, I wish they asked me before beginning to hurl all the insults. And it was so bad to the extent I'm thinking, if this guy was walking, he would simply have come and begun slapping my child. And his whole idea, come down and walk. Why are you making your mother carry you, such a big girl? Come down and walk. And I was like,
and you're not even in the matatu.
I'm not. I was walking and all that, just from nowhere. And his issue was not me, it was the child. Why is she making me carry her and all that? And of course, at that particular time, she's big, so she's not in, let's say, in a baby carrier. So she's, I had to get the shukas to tie her and all that. So those are some of the things that people do, and you look at it and like, no, don't do that. And of course, I had talked in, previously, you go to places like shopping malls, and people don't even expect you to come with such a child. They're looking at you and all that. You go to schools and they turn them away, like, no, here we can't. And so it's like, the social amenities that are open to the people, they are not open to them. We go to church and every other child is allowed to run and pick a microphone and be able to speak on the microphone and all that. A child with a disability tries to hold a microphone and we all jump up in the air. Even the pastoral, we are like, no, don't, get that microphone, it will be spoiled. It's like there is just a stigma and a scare about a child or a person with disability touching anything. It will be spoiled. As the moment they touch it, it will be spoiled. But we allow every other child to, in fact, if the other child picks it, you're like, hi, you sing, hi, give it to me. We talk to them nicely. But a child with disability does the same thing. We are all in a panic mode. All of a sudden, everybody's like, get it, please, get that child off the stage and all that. And those are some of the things that I have seen. And the don'ts, don't allow you. My child loves to sing, so to speak. She loves music. She's musically inclined and all that. And I've seen my child, she'll go to the pulpit, she really wants the microphone, and I was told never allow her to come near there. And and I was like, those are some of the things they don't. How do we minister to them? Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. And what are some of the good things people have done that have been so helpful that you'd encourage people out there to
Yes.
give to caregivers of special needs, or also just to children directly?
Just to children. Now, there are quite a number of things for us to just be able to talk about that are also good. And this is just an entry to say, how do we then reach out and maybe minister to even families and children with special needs? Number one, it's good for us to understand that every human being has a spiritual quest. Every human being, disabled, not disabled, we have a soul. Our souls are inclined to worship, some sort of worship. So we all have a spiritual quest. And that is why you see people will worship, they will be inclined to worship. And that's why people worship even animals, because we are spiritual beings inclined to worship. So a person with disability is actually a person with a soul inclined to worship. They have that quest, and they are very loving. That's the other thing for us to understand. They are very loving. I want you to do an experiment. The next time you see a child with disability, don't just ignore them. Reach out to them and just stand and say hi, and be able to talk to them, and you will see such a broad smile. Why? Because most of the time people ignore them and just pass by. Again, some of the things they don't and all that. People will just see them and ignore them and never say hi. You will come, you have there's a mother with a child with special needs. You say hi to the mother and you ignore the child, and they feel it. Just that they are not able to speak also, but they will keep quiet. Or at times, some of the don'ts, allow me to venture off a little bit into some of the don'ts. At times, you have a person with disability and you want to speak to this person with disability, but because they have their caregiver, we speak to their caregiver and tell them to talk to them, to address. Now, don't do that. If you want to talk to the person with disability, directly address them. Talk to them, because they can hear you and all that. Talk to them, and when you talk to them, they will be able to answer you back. But now the caregiver will interpret and read and tell you this is what they are saying. But directly address them as a person. They appreciate that. They don't appreciate it that you talk to the caregiver to talk to them, so that they don't appreciate that. So you directly address them, talk to them, they will respond back to you directly. Or at times, we talk to them, if they're children, we address them because they are nonverbal. You can even find that it's an adult, for example, but because they have impaired speech and the like, if they have cerebral palsy, for example, they will be an adults, but they have cerebral palsy, so they have impaired speech. And we begin to address them like children simply because they have impaired speech. And they feel very bad. And because they're not children, they're adults. And they know they're adults. So just talk to them at their age appropriate. age appropriate level, and they will understand, and that is what they appreciate. So even though their speech could be impaired, don't address them like children. They are not children. Those are some of the things that, again, they are just, don't address them like little children. They're not children. If it's, for example, a person who has a hearing impairment, another don't go shouting to them behind. They don't hear, and all that. Or don't go and tap them, like this. It will send a different signal. They might think somebody's attacking them, and so they will turn in defense.
Okay.
They don't appreciate that. So you don't do that. There is a better way to do it. Don't shout their name. Don't tap them. Just throw something like maybe a stone, not to hit them. Don't hit them. Throw it past them. And if they see anything rolling in front of them, they will know it has come from behind. They will turn behind to be able to see who is addressing them. Now that would be the etiquette and the like. Yes. So some of those things, the don'ts, the do's and the don'ts.
Thank you. I'm just sitting here and trying to reflect. Wow, I have done some inappropriate things that maybe I need to change my ways. And just as we had mentioned at the beginning, how do you share the gospel? What should us as believers or even the church do? Because you say they have a soul, that yearns to worship. So how should we go about it? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong in that sphere?
Quite a number of things. Again, just to again say that disabilities are wide, and no one disability fits them all. You don't have one rule that fits every person with a disability. Even if you have two people, for example, on the autism spectrum, you don't come up with a solution that is one fit them all. No, it is actually, you have to understand an individual per individual. You present the gospel per individual. And that's why even in schools we have specialized educational plans or individual plans, educational plans, because every individual, even if we are the two of us in class or three people in class and we all are on the spectrum, we don't use the same curriculum. I'll have to have my own curriculum, and the other person also has to have their own curriculum depending on their strengths. What are their strengths? And again, what is their path of growth, trajectory of growth where they are headed to. And so that still applies even in church. You have to be able to look at a place where you understand the world of the person, understand what is their disability, and then be able to come through. In a general sense, and then I'm going to narrow down to the children. In a general sense, if you have people who have hearing impairment, please, when you are doing, for example, they have a hearing impairment, don't come to church and then you are presenting the gospel, talking verbally. There is no sign language interpreter. Then you have lost them, because then you're not presenting the gospel at all. If you have people with sight impairment, don't come and then you are presenting the gospel or whatever it is that you're presenting, and it's all written, and you're telling people to read. I mean, read the Bible, read what? And they have, they have sight impairment. Unless you actually have brailles, which could be bulky, but you can also do audio, audio kind of messages for the people with, sight impairments. Now, that is just in a general sense. Even the announcements when we are advertising, publicity and the like. Now, let's come to the children, and not just the children, but for all of them. You need to begin from the point of love. Love people. Love genuinely. These people, they know when you love them and love them genuinely. Now, when you do even visitation, do you ever take time to visit specifically those ones in your assemblies that have disabilities? Because get into their world. That's how you win them. Get into their world. Be friends with them genuinely. And then let them feel that they are welcome in your community and you genuinely mind about them and their well-being and all that. And then, of course, as you do that, when you talk to them about the gospel of love, they can see that you actually love them, and you're
okay.
talking to them about God who also equally
Loves them.
loves them. Now, remove barriers, things in the environment that deny them accessibility.
For example,
Now let me go into children with neurodevelopmental disorders in particular. They would have those ones that have maybe autism, they have sensory issues and the like. Can you remove barriers? Can you tone down from being too loud and
okay.
having all these electrifying things and all that, and just, or at times even just present the gospel in such a way that it is calm for them. Remove barriers in that if they have mobility issues, they are not going to be toppling over things and falling and then hurting and injuring themselves. Remove barriers in such a way that you are allowing them to have sensory issues. Sensory rooms where they can be able to go and steam. Now, when I talk about steaming, is that at times they will have sensory overload on their brain, and you might have seen children with autism flapping their ears, jumping and giving some sound and all that. It's because at times they have a lot of sensory overload on their brain, and so they just want to scream. At times they will scream actually and all that. You need to have a sensory room. This is a specific quiet room that even is soundproof but then has calming effect in them and all that. It's created just to have them. They go there, and you can even have a screen there, where they can be able to go and watch a particular thing that calms them and the like. And it can have some lighting that is just calming to them. It can have a swing in there. They go just and sit down and they swing, and some soft music. And so they go and just close the door and scream and swing and calm, and then walk out and come back to the church. Now that is not just for children, because you see children grow and they become teenagers. Now, has autism gone? No. They become adults. Has autism gone? No. How come we never see adults with autism in our churches? How come we never see teenagers and youths with autism in our churches, but children are there? It's because they grow and then they realize that the environment is not welcoming for them, and they cannot come and see that. Imagine if you are just sitting in church and from nowhere an adult screams, you will be like, what has happened? However, if you actually had such a room, because they are aware when it is coming, when the overload is coming, they can feel it within their brain, within their body. They will simply walk out, go to a particular room that is designed for them, and normalize these things so that people don't feel like it's anything that is, out of the world to have such a room. Somebody will just walk out, go to the sensory room, be able to calm down and walk back and sit and continue with the sermon and get to hear and listen in and all that. You can have noise cancelling headphones for them, for example, if so that it blocks out and filters out noise, so that the noise is not too loud for them to injure their brain. Because when they are screaming because of too loud noise, it's because they're trying to tell you it is too much on my brain, you're injuring in my brain, you're hurting my brain and the like. So you can have devices that help with that. That is one thing. And as you do that, that is just still trying to work on the environment itself. Now, some of the things, there are a lot of things when we go to that area, before I even come on how to present the gospel. Environment has to be welcome. They have to know that you care and you are creating an environment that is enabling them to come in and fit in and be able to sit down and feel appreciated. Now, caregivers, they get tired to even bring these people at times to church because it is a lot of work. And at times, all they need is respite care. Now, respite care is one of those things that, you are able to organize at the church. You can have it done on duties, so that we say, if we have maybe the youth department, women's ministry department, the children's ministry department and all that, you go in turns and you say, this week, just for one day, we are going to have the youth department take care of children with disabilities, and every child will be hands-on. We have organized ourselves so that every child will be well taken care of, and they come to church. Meals are there and all that, and in fact you can do it in such a way that, for example, we have the Luke 24 banquet, where Jesus says, when you prepare a party, actually a feast, prepare a banquet, you call in the disabled, and people, get them in and prepare a table for them, and have a banquet for them. We rarely do that. Actually, when we have fellowships in churches, we have fellowships for every other group. Now it's Valentine, it's the month of love, so to speak, and we are going to be organizing love for couples and all that, romantic love and all that, but we will never think about love for people with disabilities. This is a perfect time for us to do that. Prepare a banquet and call in the ones who are the lepers, the disabled. Have a banquet for them and just show them the love. And as you're showing them the love, what an opportunity for you to be able to share the love of Christ with them and tell them, the love of Christ and all that. Already you can see it's already so mixed, because anything that you do for them, you are doing it, but then you are able to again be able to bring in the love of Christ and talk about the love of Christ and all that. Now that is one thing. You can do that. You do the banquet for them. You can say, for this particular day, it is the youth week, it's the youth department that is going to do that one day in a week, and you tell the parents and the caregivers, we are giving you a day to yourself. Go and just maybe go to the salon, go and sleep a nap, go and read a book, go and visit a friend. So, and your mind just be relaxed. We'll take care of the child. You'll come back for the child. That is one thing that you can be able to do. We can do a cleaning day for their devices. Those wheelchairs, I'm telling you, they need to be washed and all that. They need hygiene. But who is there to do that? Nobody. And because this child is always on that, the caregiver is already so tired and all that. And so some of them, a year, 2 years, the device has never been cleaned. The child is always on it, touching and all that. And so some of the germs and sicknesses that this child encounters, because their devices are so dirty, out of that they get sick over and over. What about if we just decided, we'll do a cleaning day for all the devices, and we invite all of them that are disabled, come, and whether you have a device, you don't have a device, we are going to clean and even replace the worn out ones. Some of them have actually, you look at the devices they are using, they are so worn out, but because they don't have the resources. Now the white can, for example, needs to be replaced every 1.5 months.
What?
The white can, for the
1.5 months.
Yes, because they have sensors in them that helps them to be able to sense where they're going, whether it's a hilly place, whether it's there's a hole or something. But the sensors wear out. They need to be replaced. But do they have the money to replace them now so often? No. But so they are there, they have the cane is not helping them, it doesn't have a sensor and all that. So some of those things. Now when we group them and they have come for their devices to be cleaned, what are we supposed to be doing? We are supposed to be sharing the love and the gospel of salvation. Now don't make it so complicated. What I do, and especially for the children with neurodevelopmental disorders, I've always told people, keep the key thing. The key thing is the gospel of the cross, the message of salvation. If they have to know anything in the Bible, let them know that God so loved the world, he came, whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life, and know the sinner's prayer. God, forgive my sins, write my name in the Lamb's book of life. That prayer, and that scripture just telling them about Jesus. I make Jesus their best friend, so that who is your friend is Jesus, and all that. Now, do it in such a way, especially for those ones who cannot be able to to be able to have, because their storage, so to speak, they cannot, in our brains we have places for short-term memory, long-term memory, and all that. Now, if they don't have the long-term memory as such, they only operating on short-term memory, keep repeating over and over the same message of salvation. One of the things that can really work, and it actually works very well, is that for these children, give them what we call the buddy system, way of helping them with the gospel. Now, a buddy system is that what you do, you have this child, for example, with autism or cerebral palsy, they come to church. Your department needs to be organized in such a way that every child has a buddy who is a friend. Now, you don't keep changing. Today you have given me this buddy, next week you give me a different buddy. Autism, we don't deal very well with changes. We actually like routine. So if you are my buddy, you become consistently my buddy. And so you can maybe put 2 just in case the other one is not there then. But, have a buddy system in place, and have this particular buddy who will work with this particular child. And so when the child comes, but what you need to do first of all is that vet the buddy very well, and especially in this day and age, don't just attach a child to any person, because this person will be the person that this child is going to trust. And so this person should be a person who does not have any ill motive to the child. So vet them very well, then entrust the buddy with the child. So when you come to church, release the child to the buddy. But then the buddy also has a buddy bag. The buddy bag will be fitted with the child's most essential items. Some of the children still need, they are on diapers and the like. Some of the children are drool, and so they have, the bibs and all that. Some of the children need change of clothes, in between and all that. Some of the children will have their toys, favorite toys, and then their meals. One of the things for us to know is that a number of them will be on special meals, special diets and the like. Now, on top of that, you need to also now have flashcards that are speaking about the gospel. Flashcards that speak about, they can just be like 5 cards, so to speak, because they are very pictorial and the like. So just a card that tells them about Jesus' love and all that, and and they are able to sit and listen to, so as the buddy is with them, the buddy can always bring out a flashcard and tell them and talk to them like just a story, but tell them about that story of salvation and the like. Now, these children may not be able to sit in the classroom per se, and if they want to run out in the middle when the teacher is teaching, it's okay. The buddy, you go with them and you go outside, but you have the buddy bag out there as you are on the swing and teach them about the same lesson. When they are done with that and they have gone to the sensory room, move to the sensory room with them, and you continue with the lesson while there. And so they are not missing out. They are learning. In the parking lot, when they are walking around, they are still learning the same thing. And then while in the sensory room, you can put on the television, maybe the music that emphasizes the same. Jesus loves the little children and all that. And so that way, the gospel. When you go home, you also train the parents to keep doing the same in the course of the week. And the gospel continues. And there are a number of things we can do. We can do sports. We can take them to the shopping malls. A number of them have never been to the shopping malls. We can come to church and we decide it's the men that are actually taking care of these children this particular day, men's ministry, and they take them out shopping mall and all that. You can also decide just to be a blessing to the caregivers. Buy the diapers. Honestly, it's expensive, and some of these children don't come to church because they will soil themselves and the parents cannot afford. Buy them diapers if you can. Now, a number of these children eat from Healthy You. I cannot tell you the truth, because they are on a child like my daughter is on gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, wheat-free. Now, sustaining her from Healthy You. and you will find that another parent has three children
yeah.
with the same condition.
Yeah.
How they manage it is only by the grace of God. If you can just every end month when you go to do your shopping, just go to, decide, just ask them what do you need from Healthy You, and at least, even if it's not a lot, get 2-3 packets of milk that is non-dairy for them. Right now that packet is 700 shillings a packet that they only drink twice, 2 times, 2 days a packet is done, 700 shillings. This child still needs to take milk like any other child, but they are on dairy free. You can decide. You'll maybe just decide, how can I help them? They need therapies, because for them to be able to amount into somebody, to gain that mobility, to gain that speech, to do anything, they need therapies. A therapist is 3,000 shillings per visit. What do? You can just decide, okay, you need so much, maybe I'll be helping 2 times or 1 times a week for your therapy. Somebody else can also handle the other part, and you once a week, at least in a month, maybe it's 12,000, but you have helped at least a therapy. So there's a lot you can do for these children, and that way you are ministering to them physically and spiritually. And when you talk to them about the love of Christ, they understand, because they have seen that you demonstrate. Yes.
Wow. You've poured out your heart. I can see the passion, and you have so much information, so very practical. We are truly grateful. I have learned so much. And I'm just feeling, wow, we are really falling short in this area. And may God help us. I think that's all I'll say for now.
Amen.
May God help us. We've really been here for a long time. We have so much more content. You can contact Pastor Fidel. We can always, if you reach out to us, we can always share her contact, and maybe if this is what your church needs to hear, if this is what your community needs to hear, I'm sure she'd be open. If you work with her on dates that are convenient, she'll come and share some more about this. But for now, God bless you. We have learned a lot. Please, at least pick one and run with it. At least I know what I have picked, and I will run with it. So thank you so much. God bless you. This has been Real Life Conversation. We talk about real issues. Issues sometimes as a society we are blind to. We are ignorant and arrogant about. But may God help us. So pass our love to your family. Thank you for doing this with us. There was a part 1, as I said. Please go back and watch on CITAM ChurchOnline, and you'll get the part 1. This was a part 2. It was a beautiful story about this amazing woman and her journey with her beautiful daughter Raziela Miracle. God bless you. Until next time, we'll see you on CITAM ChurchOnline.